So as I finish up digital coloring, I have to ask myself, do I want to be able to color these shadows easily, separately from the highlights on the hat? And if the answer is yes, then you want to pick a different color for each one. So I'm going to pick blue for in here, and I'm just going to do it with my brush. And ideally, it would be a different blue than here, and it is. Your swatches will keep track of which color you're using. But it might be the same blue as there though. So I'll just use bright red. Actually, why don't I do that? And the nice thing is once you have a flat, then you can easily replace the flat, just with the paint bucket tool. So even though we're doing a lot of these flats, which might seem like a kind of a waste of a lot of time, it makes future work a lot easier. Now check this out. Because my flats in there are fully contained, then all I have to do is use my paint bucket and fill that in, and now all that's filled in. That would work for the star as well. So let me pick a color I haven't used before. Fluorescent green. And we fill in the star.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
In Illustrator, how come all of a sudden you go to do something and you get this blue image moving?
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to put a line in, and all of a sudden I get...
All right, so I picked that lime green color. I'm going to fill in the star. Because it's already surrounded in my flatting layer, I can do that. But notice, sometimes this happens. You see how there's a little edge of the lime green coming from around. So often with flatting, if you're using the magic wand a lot, you want to go back in and get behind the line work too, especially where the color differences are really important to you. Now what you can try is, let me see, if I delete this from my flatting layer, and then I fill it in again with anti-alias checked, that's still going to do the same thing. In fact, it's better to have it unchecked. It'll be a little bit smoother. But because these aren't logo designs, it doesn't need to be quite as exact. We're just going for coloring. Okay. So now I'm going to use that red for in here. I might kind of block it in so that I can just use the paint bucket, hold down Option, select that red, drop it in. That's how it works. And for this, I'm just going to use my regular brush and use that red and fill it in. Now, is there any white left over? Yes, there's some white down here. So I'm going to fill that in with purple, these whites. And we're almost done with the kill whitey phase. I noticed on the horns there was some place, did I already fix it? Right there. Yeah, sometimes when you use the brush to fill, you miss something. And it just depends how detail oriented you are. Okay, but that's good. So now save. Now I've got, at minimum, I've got a white background. I've got flat colors, even though they're crazy colors. And then I have my black lines hovering above. So now what is the next step? Well, let me show you a handout that now shows you what you can do with this stuff. So if you go to links, I have added a digital character coloring handout, which is just digital coloring. It's not just the digital coloring and painting, just digital coloring. And if we look at it, if you download it, this takes an original character based on our campus mascot, Nico, which I designed 5 years ago or so. I wanted to do a Pokemon version of that character. Come on, waiting for that to download. Oh, not that one, not that one. So if you just click on it, it should download. I don't know why it's taking so long. There we go. Yeah, it's not that big. It's a PDF, so you should be able to view it anywhere. And this is what it looks like. So when I designed the initial Nico, really simple, just 3-color version, that's what's called flat color. Because even though he has highlights, those highlights are just empty space, right? So flat color is when you have one clean color that fills in any local color. So if his feathers are blue, they're always the same flat blue. If his legs, beak, and feather or plume is green, it's always the same flat green. But that's not really how Pokemon are made, right? So to make a Pokemon, you have to start with the flat color, and then you have to start playing with it. So you can add highlights, like these white edge highlights. And that's something I might play with now on my deer. But I'm going to add those on top of my flat color, not erase them away. Then you might add gradations. This is what's called duotoning. When you take every local color that's flat and separate it into a lighter version and a darker version. And if it gradates kind of smoothly or softly, we call that soft edged. So you see the soft edge gradations here on his belly, in his eyes, on his beak. And then you can overlay with cut edge, which is where it's more animated, where you kind of cut out shapes that you want darker or lighter. So even though we start with just basic flat color like this, which is where we're at now, we can end up with a lot of variations within those flat colors. And then ultimately we can even change the color of the line. So I changed the color from black to being this kind of sepia tone. And that contrasted a little bit more nicely. And then you can actually put special effects over the top of your line work, like these little glints in the helmet and on the claws. Those are what are called color holds. Things that go on top of the line work. And then the final is like a sticker that then you can put onto a background or a textured background. And then this is used on our faculty handbook for the college. Our little Pokemon version, which we call Nikomon. But again, it all starts with the sketch, clean vector outlines, line work, flat color, and now all these different variations, which you can take in a million different ways. But I'm going to show you some major methods for it. So the first major method is like how Peanuts is done. Charles Burns. No, not Charles Burns. Charles Schulz. So if you look at them, how would you describe the coloring of these guys? It's all flat, right? So each local color, if the hair is yellow, then it's one clean yellow that fills in all the hair. If the skin is this kind of peachy color, then the skin is all that one color. In fact, except for the character that isn't that same Caucasian color, all that skin color is exactly the same across all those different characters. Which isn't really, it means they're all a little too inbred in my visual taste, right? Now, how do you get what looks like shadows? Well, that all comes from the line work, right? So the pants here, they're blue, but they have so much shadow they look like they're kind of a navy, right? The stripes can be two different flat colors because the local color of the stripes is different. So we start with just simple flat color, and that has to do with picking colors. And so I save it here, and I lock my flatting colors because I don't want to accidentally mess them up. They're incredibly important because they make it really easy to select. But now, my advice from lots of experience doing digital coloring and basically enjoying the process of painting by hand, I have a really hard time choosing colors from the millions of options. So if I want the antlers to be like kind of a tan rust color, it's hard to choose that from this and then just drop it in. So what I'll do is I'll actually duplicate my flatting layer. Actually, I won't even duplicate it. I'll do it the right way. I'll use my my magic wand, and I'm going to uncheck contiguous now so that it will select all the blues that match the blue of the antlers. And then I go to my flat color layer. And now I'm going to replace that blue with the color I really think it should be. So I can just choose it. Oops. Use the magic wand and then use the paint bucket, right? And I can just try to choose these colors on my own. But I have a different method that I think you might like. Because I'll show you, these will look a little boring. I'll choose all the greens, and I'll go to my flat color layer, and I'll drop them in with this brown. It's like, that's all right. And maybe I want a light blue for the wings. So it's hard to know what good colors are. I'll use the magic wand, contiguous unchecked, so it chooses all those pinks. Then I use use that, and it will fill them in. On and on and on. Okay, notice these are new flat colors. They're on top of my flatting colors. But this is a better way to go, in my opinion. Find an image that you like the digital coloring of. And I said I really like Paul Pope's Battling Boy. It's one of my favorite comics right now. Mostly because of his really, really nice job of simple coloring. Right? They pop, they're interesting. So I want to find an image with a lot of colors in it that I can steal. Right? Like, look at all those different greens and blues. They're hard to select just from a color menu. In fact, maybe pick a few. This is a color script. And where does he steal from? He steals from Jack Kirby. You know, so this is a colored Jack Kirby page, kind of vintage comic. These are great things to steal colors from. So I'm going to steal a bunch of colors, color illustrations. They're all, line work colored behind. And then this is how you steal from them. You open them up in Photoshop. So let me just take the Kirby one, for instance. Keep it simple. Open it with Photoshop. Come on, I want to do this before the demo runs out. And then you want to put them side by side. So what you do is you go to Window, Arrange, and I'm going to do 2 up vertical. So I have them both within the application window side by side. That way, when I'm on my paint bucket, I can simply hold down Option and choose a color, and then drop it in. See how that works?